Welcome to episode 3 of Beneath the Surface, an A&G Concrete Pools podcast. I'm your host, Luke Hannon, and it's my pleasure to be joined today by Lillie Shepherd and Patti Giunta.
Hi. Hello.
How are you guys doing today?
Great. It's been a good morning.
Well,
It's been a busy morning.
yes, it has. We're glad to have you guys here to have this conversation in our first 3-person interview, so I'm excited for that as well. But I think the best place to start with all of these episodes is sort of at the beginning, both of you with over 20 years of tenure at this point. Where did it all start for you? How did you come into contact with A&G?
I grew up here. I grew up in Fort Pierce. I went through elementary school, high school, graduated from Westwood, and then I left the town, the area to go to school, go to college, and UCF, yay! Ended up leaving the state, working for Circuit City. Years and years go by, 13 years go by, I decided I want to come home. So in 2003, I moved back. But I left that job and said I wanted to do something different, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So after I took a little 30-day mini vacation, I opened the newspaper, and A&G was hiring. It sounds so silly, but it's actually true. And I'm like, I have to have a job.
Yeah.
Don't know really where I want to be, where I want to go next, but A&G was looking for somebody to do payroll and accounts payable, and I walked in and applied.
What about you, Patti?
I actually met the previous owner, Art, at a ball field. Our daughters both played sports together and just started talking, and he was looking for an accountant, and one thing fell in, after the other. I have a lot of banking background, and that's where I came from. So he used that, and I used that to come here, and I've been here for 23 years.
And I think that, as we talk to everybody so far, I think a testament to the company as a whole of how many people have that kind of longevity. I mean, we think about the shortest tenured people, even myself. Been here 3 years at this point, looking at the designers, 5 or 6 years, looking at the office staff. We pretty quickly get to a decade, pretty much starting out. So that's something obviously not every company has to offer, and something that allows us to, I think, adapt at a really quick pace and be able to react to things, because we've seen so many different changes already.
That's true.
So with both you guys joining on, I'm curious, you both have very transferable skill sets coming into the roles that you did at the time, but did you know anything about the swimming pool industry as a whole? Had you had any experience with that? Anybody you had known?
Swam in my parents' pool. My father's pool was built in '95 by A&G Pools.
Yeah.
And that was my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
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 So what was it like then? Because this is a very unique industry. I mean, construction-based in itself, but being at a kind of mid-sized company like A&G, there's so much responsibility on each individual, but at the same time, so much freedom to kind of explore your department and figure out exactly what's the best way to work for you. How was that getting adjusted to from what was probably a more structured and more corporate background beforehand?
Accounts payable is accounts payable. You got to pay the bills. You got to send the invoices. It was just understanding the phases of construction. What were they? I didn't know gunite was concrete. What's gunite? I just didn't know, because I didn't know the language. I didn't know the terminology. Mm-hmm. So once that fell into place, but as far as coming in and, setting up a payroll system and paying employees, I mean, it was pretty similar to a lot of industries, but it's the lingo to understand what we really did, what the finished product was when we got done. It was, why we did things in a certain way to get to that end project. I didn't understand that, but that just came over time. Patti, you probably the same way.
I built my pool so I could see every stage of the building process and to understand it. When they would tell me, oh, this is what we did, this is what the deco drain is, this is this. When you see it actually going on in your backyard, that's great. You can kind of piece it all together. But like Lillie said, coming in and doing billing and doing all of that stuff, it's like a normal office, per se, position. That's not going to change too much. It's just adapting to that environment.
Yeah, and I know that was when I joined on 3 years ago. That was one of the largest challenges for me. There's just so much vernacular that unless you have built a pool, unless you have someone close to you who's aware of all that terminology and you've heard it before, it is kind of like learning a new language in a lot of ways, learning what gunite is, learning the different kinds of rebar, because there's a lot of words that we've heard, but how do they get used? How do they get used in a swimming pool in particular? You think of rebar and you think of concrete construction, but how does it actually tie into the shell? Why is it in the shell? And I think one of the things for me that was so exciting is to come in and learn all that and then be able to kind of piece the puzzle together within your own department.
And sometimes it's actually better for somebody to come into this position or into the building position not knowing, because then they come in with bad habits, or they think they know everything, or they think they know how something works, but that's how somebody else did it. If you come in with no knowledge and you learn it, sometimes it's a little bit better too.
And I'd love for you to speak on that further, because I think there is kind of a proprietary A&G method to a lot of the things that we do. So even if you come from a swimming pool background, we're not going to approach things the way that the standard pool company does. We're going to have a very different structure in how we do things, the sequence, the chain of command. How do you feel like that probably mimics more of your past work in the banking world than kind of the standard mom and pop pool shop?
Correct, 100%. You know, I knew nothing. You know, nothing about a pool. I don't know if I can do this. I've been in banking for, 20-something years, and I'm going to leave that and come to something I don't know. But, it was a big leap for me. It was a leap that I needed to do, and I don't regret it. But it was good learning. It was very good learning experience for me, coming in and not knowing that knowledge.
Yeah.
I moved around the office. I left accounting, went to the service department, was a service coordinator, didn't know a whole lot, Then again, the terminology came into hand. And I still remember the customer asked me one day, he goes, "Lillie, how do you know all this?" I said, I read. I read what's on the paper that they give me. They turn the service ticket in, I read it, and make them tell me what they found, what they did. So I know I might be able to tell you how to go turn your pool back on, but I can't come to your house and do it.
Yeah.
Because it was just so much of learning legal, but I had so much of a customer service background that I was fine.
Yeah.
I could I could have a conversation with the customer, and they understood that I didn't know everything, but I'd find out for them, and we just made it work.
Now, how do you think that sort of cross-training element of what we do here, and having so many people who've worked multiple positions, I mean, just looking at the office, obviously both of yourselves, and now you've gotten to larger roles, but myself moving from sales to marketing, we have service coordinators who've moved around, we have permitting directors who have moved around. How do you think learning one position helps inform what you're doing in the next?
It definitely makes it a lot easier. Just a little thing that may go, oh, if I do this way here, it makes this smoother over here, or vice versa. Hey, if I can talk to Heather and have her do this way, then when it gets back to me, it'll be a shorter process. It kind of helps, and then you're there to help each other when, one's busier than the other, and we just keep the machine going.
We all gel, we bounce things off of each other, make it easier for each other, whatever's going to make it easier, so that when that person's not here, the company can still run.
And that was a big point when we sat down with Travis, was creating a company culture and creating an environment in which people can, if they have something personal going on, if they're taking time for themselves, they can step away and the company doesn't cease to function. Everyone can kind of fill in those gaps for the temporary and make it seem like nothing has changed. Now, Patti, that's a credit to you in a lot of ways as the office manager. Obviously, culture starts at the top down with Travis, but you're the one that's kind of dictating that each and every day, creating that open environment where people can feel comfortable sharing. Was that something that you always envisioned the culture being like, or something that you felt needed to be changed when you stepped into that role?
It really needed to be changed. When I came, there was only 3 of us in the office.
Wow.
So now we have 7 people in the office. So, everything started to change. We got busier, and you have to. We're here more than we are at home. So we have to get along. We laugh, we cry, we do everything together, It's just, we've all been here for so long. You're more family than you are a coworker, honestly.
And it's one of those terms I think it's thrown around a lot these days in work settings, and people calling their office a family and people using that kind of terminology. But I think here it really holds weight. To your point, Patti, we are here, and oftentimes more than we are at home. There are relationships that you've developed over years and years. We're not a company that has high turnover. No. So if someone comes in, they get embedded into the group and they're kind of there going forward. So how do you think that has kind of affected not only the task side of things, but the enjoyment of coming to work every day?
I mean, I think we've come in, Patty and I do it quite frequently. We come in looking for each other. You're not going to believe what happened last night.
Yeah. Or over the weekend. Yeah. What did your dog do this weekend? Her dog's always doing something. So you're always like, we're more like family. It's hard to explain, that connection that's there. But when you've been together with people for so long, it's more of a sister than my coworker. And I think that's with everybody. We try to make everybody feel at home.
We try to get together outside of the office.
Yeah, we do
from
things
time to time. Heck, you were even with us on the last road trip.
This is true. And look, it is great because
and you survived.
I did. I'm still here, able to host this podcast. It's fantastic. But those are kind of cool moments to have because it doesn't feel forced. And I think that's another thing where some companies you have your obligatory once a month happy hour and nobody wants to be there. Everyone just wishes they were home. And the events that we get to go to, whether they're philanthropic things, whether just out in the community having fun together, it's a really cool atmosphere to be able to take these people that you spend so much time with working with every day and then go get to see another side of them or see them in a more relaxed environment and sort of learn even more about them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Al just asked me the other day, do we have anything fun coming up? We plan something, I guess.
Yeah, we'll figure out something,
Well, and it's a great point there of like, people are looking for these things, and it's part of the culture when you join A&G is it is not just a clock in and clock out. You're here to do your job, and there's nothing more than that. You do get to become a part of this larger environment, this larger group of people that are going to either make real change in a community, they're going to participate in events, they're going to become kind of figureheads like Travis, where people recognize him when he's out and about, and it's exciting to be a part of not only a company, but a movement like that as well. Now, I'm curious because we've talked a lot about this, but I think it's pretty easy to say that construction as a whole, but certainly the swimming pool industry, is one that tends to be male-dominated. So coming in 2 decades ago as two women, obviously accomplished in your previous careers, but entering a new industry, I'm sure there was a stigma or a challenge or a barrier that you guys felt you had to overcome in the initial.
I think it was after I've been here about 5 or 6 years when I went over to service and got more close relationship with the guys in the field and the construction managers and project managers, and some were more acceptable to it, and some were like, "Oh, she's just a girl," But then I learned. I asked questions, and then through the years, it's become a better relationship. And we have a lot of employees here that were here when I came to work here.
Yeah.
Out in the field, still doing it. And I think, through the years, you earn their respect when you listen to them, you respect them. Now I'm in purchasing. In the same thing, there's not, in our industry, there's not a lot of women that I communicate with on a regular basis for the things that I need. Majority of the people I talk to, different vendors, even one-off vendors, it's always usually a man that calls me.
As you get to know everybody and you learn the things in the field and you accept the people, like she said, there were people that were here still when I came, that have been here forever like us. We're not going anywhere, and it's just, I don't know. I don't look at myself as being in an industry where I have to prove myself because I'm more in an office environment.
With a company like this, with an industry like this, there's always going to be an advantage of having someone who's had a lot of tenure and having someone who's seen a lot of things. But at the same time, I don't think we've ever allowed that to sort of stop the evolution of the company and having that next generation, because we know that's so important. To your point, we have guys who've been doing this 30, 40 years, and there's going to come a time in the future where that next generation is going to fill in those gaps for them. So creating environments, whether it be out in the field or in the office, where people can slide into those roles and be effective right away and learn under the knowledge. And it takes the right personality, without a doubt, to come in and kind of respect your elders in a certain way and understand that they have a life experience and a knowledge and just an amount of work that you can learn things from, even if we don't share identical perspectives, which no one ever will. Yeah. But again, I think it's a credit to you guys in the positions that you are to be able to have those conversations with people and bring them along and not gatekeep in any way what you're doing in a kind of self-preservation based way. You guys are always looking for what's the next steps of the company and how do we grow and continue to get better.
And it's nice doing payroll. You have to learn. You have to know who everybody is to give out their pay.
This is
and
true.
stuff. So you learn them, and then you start to get that rapport with them, and then they're like, oh, hey, and then you learn that they have a kid, or like it's just you start to know a little bit more about. We may not know as much about the field workers as we do ourselves, obviously in the office, because we just see them for a little bit of time throughout the day. We don't see them all day like we do here. We
might only see them, 5 minutes a day until, till 3 weeks down the road. Then we see them for 30 minutes and really catch up and get talked to them because we just don't see them.
Yeah.
With the tenure that you both have, being over 2 decades, we talked with Travis about this, about how the process has evolved since even the year 2000, and things changing so much, the internet playing such a larger role now, and talking with Jason about the evolution of how clients are interacting with businesses differently and how important it is to have an outward-facing presence that is one that builds confidence, that is one that shares the longevity of the company. While not in client-facing roles, you guys have seen so much evolution. What do you think have been the biggest changes since you first joined on 20 years ago to where we are now here in 2025?
Lillie and I have both been here through the ups and downs when, like we said, the crash in 2007, 2008 to the COVID era.
Yeah.
Where back in 2020, 2007, we were all taking a pay cut just to stay afloat. Now, then COVID hits, and we have so much work that we have to hire more people. We outgrew this building within like 2 years because all of a sudden we had to hire more people to help get the work done because we went from getting by on a flow, then dropping, and then all of a sudden you have all this work to do and you need more people because you have more permits going in. You have more inspections to do. It was just a constant. So we saw the low and the high.
And how have your roles specifically changed? I mean, Lillie, I'm sure you can speak to it during COVID, but like a purchasing director may have never been more valuable for those 2 or 3 years of all the foresight you had to do, all the planning, all the sort of analysis of what would be needed of projects when we're looking at things in pumps and heaters having 6-month wait times just to get the order in, let alone have them delivered.
We did a lot of planning, a lot of spreadsheets to know what we needed, what was coming down the pipeline, so that we could order in enough time to have it. We had the grace of having this building because there's no way in our old building because we have housed the amount of materials and equipment that we housed. We just used to send the guys to the supply house. I'd call it the day before, I need this equipment tomorrow for this B-plumb. And the guys would go the next day, pick it up, and go set it. Now we just keep it here, and we prep it, and they're out the door. They don't spend 30, 40 minutes at the supply house.
And I think that foresight can be shared to the entirety of the company in a lot of ways, to where we do our absolute best, and I think we do quite an impressive job of it, of not being a reactionary company. We're often ones sort of setting the tempo for the industry or trying to look ahead and constantly see what's coming down the pipeline, as opposed to waiting until it's too late and then trying to scramble and react. And I think that is how you have something like that. It's how we managed to get through COVID doing, at that time, 300 to 400 pools a year. I mean, more pools done in a year than there are days available. And it just, to look back on that and marvel at all the thought, all the planning required by so many people to be able to do something like that. How do you guys feel like that is sort of managed now that we are in a world where we're not using subcontractors, we're not having outside parties? It has shrunk down, and that's just meant it is our in-house staff from front to back, whether that's project management, whether it's design and sales, whether it's form steel, tile setting. It is so unique a process to have all those people under one roof. How have you seen the growth of individuals from when they started 5 or 10 years ago to where they are now, and sort of the leadership and responsibility that comes with their positions?
I mean, I've always been in this position. I've always been the office manager, but I've learned other spots of it. I've learned some of the permitting or the inspections, service side. But there's been people who like Lillie who have moved around. I mean, I think like office staff wise, I think we're pretty well set. I think we have a good staff.
Well, I think it speaks to the hiring process, and both of you guys are always heavily involved in that of, as important as someone's resume may be, it is understanding them as a person as a whole and how do they fit into that team, and do they see themselves as someone who's going to be looking for the next dollar increase in their hourly rate in a year, or are they going to be someone who sees the longevity for themselves and what a career can build out to be and what those long-term benefits look like? Because when you're creating a company culture like we have, and we're creating something that from the top down is like a family unit, you want people who want to see themselves not just a year down the road, but 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. And I think we've seen that a lot recently. And I know during the kind of COVID and post-COVID windows, we did have so many people, just because the introduction of remote work, the introduction of delivery drivers becoming more prominent, those workers being essential, a lot of new jobs opened up for people that might have been considering labor before. But now that that's shrunk down, I think people are really trying to find a place that gives them a sense of security in a world that is constantly changing in a lot of ways.
We had to learn how to deal with it. We had to learn how to handle it.
Right.
And find the right people who molded in and fit with us and wanted to be a part of our processes and our culture and our family.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope to see in the future, is that we continue to find the younger generation that wants to be a part of that. The company's definitely going to continue. It's going to grow. Projects are getting bigger. We're doing a lot of community projects, we do commercial work, and we just need them to see what they can be a part of and what they can take ownership of and say, that was me. I helped to build that.
Because it is an incredible thing. I mean, we are one of the few fields that allows you to tangibly step back from your work at the end of the day and see what you've created. It's not just an invoice that gets sent out. It's not just an email chain. There is a real physical product that becomes the fabric of a family in a lot of ways for those people, those homeowners. They're going to spend years and years with kids and grandkids creating memories in that space. And you get to look at it 10 years down the road and say, I had a hand in helping them have those moments. So the point you brought up, Lillie, is such a great one. That next generation and where we're going in the next few years, you guys have obviously seen so much, and I'm curious to where you see those next 5-10 years down the line, because I think we're at such a unique precipice right now of some of those smaller companies that were sustained by just a pure volume-based approach in COVID, really shrinking down, not having the role they once did. The players that are still around have been around for a long time and are these businesses of real longevity and real community impact. Where do you see that next generation coming in, and where do you see the company continue to move as we go forward from here?
It's that younger generation that we need to bring on board and teach the skill set. Like John Hoyt, like you mentioned, from the bottom to grow top to where if you're asked a question, you're going to be able to answer it because most likely you had your hands in it at some point. You have true knowledge.
To me, like when we look at resumes for people coming in, I would prefer to look at a resume and see somebody who's maybe been somewhere for 5 years and has a commitment. It's like there's no commitment to anything. You know, with the younger generation, they're just going to go where there's more money, or I'm just going to do this for a year and then I'm going to try something else. You know, I would love to see people just commit to something.
It's a fair point. I think there is, particularly in kind of Gen Z who's now getting into the workforce, I think there's a pretty big division of individuals who are of that kind of character trait where they're going to think everything is temporary and they're not thinking any kind of long term. But I think you do have a smaller group who are highly motivated and recognize that maybe they're different from their peers because they have that foresight. Now, you guys obviously took a chance on me because I am of that. I can see you're still regretting it, Patti. I understand.
I am not regretting it.
But how important do you think it is? Because I came in with only my high school work experience to speak for, and I did come in with a college degree, but how important do you think it is to, even though it may be a difficult thing to do, give someone who might not have that real world experience yet the chance because you believe in them as the person and you believe in sort of what they've achieved so far scholastically?
We try, look at Riley. Riley really doesn't have any working experience.
Mm-hmm.
We put her out as a receptionist. We have someone who's retiring, Shelley retiring next week, who started off as a receptionist.
Yeah.
And she moved on. You have to give somebody a chance. They're not going to learn. They have to make that first step. And then it's up to them to take those steps to move forward and learn whatever they can about any position.
Yeah.
In order to move when there's something that's available to move. We would much rather move up people than hire somebody for a higher position.
Mm-hmm.
We would rather do that,
I have to praise them for, okay, maybe they figured out that's not what they wanted to do, but they finished it. They stuck with it.
Right.
And to me, that's somebody that's worth a chance.
Yes.
Because they finished what they started.
Yeah.
And I do like to see that with when looking at some of the resumes that don't have the experience. And with the younger generation, you will find that. But if we look at a resume and we can see you did this, you completed this, you stuck with it, you went for the longevity here, but that program is now over.
Right.
Whether it's a business related, whether it's construction related, or completely something off the mainstream, but they show that they're willing to put in the long term, and that's maybe more what we would look for, because we don't like turnover. We like to have a steady staff and have the mesh of the familyhood.
And I think, once again, to kind of circle back to where we started in a lot of ways, but it's a credit to the culture that you guys have created that we can bring in someone who doesn't have an industry experience, who has shown the kind of ability to finish something like a 4-year degree or to stick with a job for a long time and work their way up at a single position before searching for that next role for themselves. And having an environment where they can come in and they can learn, even if they're coming in from ground zero, and become successful long-time employees. That starts with you guys and being able to kind of bring those individuals in and bring them along the way. And it might not be perhaps the most traditional training program out there, but it is something to where if you have that desire to stay with it, I really don't think there's a ceiling in a lot of instances. There's always more responsibility for you to take. There's always the ability, if you think there's a positive change to be made, we're given the license to make those changes for the sake of the company, improve in that regard. So that starts with Travis in a lot of ways, but it starts with you guys as well.
I think we all take on those mother roles, and especially when a young one comes in, we're all kind of like the moms. We're the moms of the group, or the wives. I have some of the guys out in the field and some of the project managers that I'm their work wife, because I handle so much stuff for them because they've been here. I mean, and their wives are like, whatever Patti tells you to do, just do it, But
yeah, they come to the Christmas party and they go, "Oh, you're the one that takes care of her."
But it's just, I think that that's part of it too. Is we care. I care about this company.
Yeah.
And I think I try to make it better and make other people care, like I do. It's a good place to be.
And I think if it hadn't been that way when I came to work here in 2003, I wouldn't have stayed.
Yeah.
I came from large box retail.
Yeah.
And went to working in an office, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. But they allowed me to grow and learn, and the family and the friendship I made, I just never felt like leaving.
Thank you all for joining us for the 3rd episode of Beneath the Surface. It's been a pleasure having you with us for this episode. We're excited to continue to bring you more content with our in-industry partners, some of our local community members, and of course, A&G employees. So make sure to follow us on all socials and listen wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next time.